Hi, I'm going to share with you today how to make this tri-panel fun fold card using Stampin' Up supplies. I'm Michelle Last and I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator, and I'm so happy that you've joined me to see how we make these cards. So let's crack on. So what you need to do is, I've used crumb cake for the card base and basic white for the card insert, and you need to cut a piece of crumb cake to measure 21 by 10.5. And then what you're going to need to do is you need to score it with the long edge at the top of the trimmer. You need to score it at 3.5 and 7. So 3.5 and then 7. And what that does is that creates the little Z fold, which is the basic mechanism of the card. So that when the card is stood up, it sort of, the front stands proud and it gives it a nice dimension and a bit of depth. So there's your back panel. You also need another piece of crumb cake, which measures 14 by 10.5. And you need a piece of whisper white or basic white that measures 13.6 by 10.2. Now I have this corner rounder here, and I'm going to round one corner of the white. So I've corner rounded my white piece, which is fine, but I've corner rounded this piece, which is an error. It's actually this piece that I need to corner round. So it won't matter because I'm cutting that corner off of the other piece anyway. So I've corner rounded that piece. That's the inside panel like that. And then this is going to be the front panel. So what you need to do now is grab your trimmer or a ruler, whatever you prefer. And you need to put the short edge in the top of the trimmer, and you need to score at 3.5 and 7 again. So 3.5, I'm going to do a score line, and at 7, and that's the 3 panels that we've got here. We also need to cut the patterned paper pieces. They need to be 3 centimeters in depth. Let me grab a piece. So I thought that piece of paper was wide enough. Apologies, it wasn't. So it needs to be 3 centimeters wide, and then we're going to cut 3 different lengths, and we're going to cut them at 4, 8.5 and 13.5. And these are going to stick in the corresponding panels. But before we do that, we need to cut down our panels. So with the long edge at the top of the trimmer, you need to mark at 4.5. So I line it up at 4.5 here on my trimmer, and then I just do a little pencil mark here, and then at 9. So I go to 9 and I mark with a little pencil mark here. So what we need to do is we need to cut this pencil mark down to the first score line. We need to cut this pencil mark down to the second score line. Whilst my bit of paper cardstock is in the trimmer in the right place, I'm going to go ahead and cut. So you can either cut from here up, or you can go to your piece of card and cut down. This little indent here shows you where you need to cut to, and you can see that I've cut into it there, and what I need to do is cut this piece off and cut this piece off. So I'm just going to line it up in my trimmer. I should be able to cut until the bits of card come away. And let's do this last piece. If you don't go far enough with your trimmer blade, you can always go in with scissors and trim that off. Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. And just to say, I've got a bit of a frayed edge there, so I'm just going to neaten that up. So you can do the same if you experience the same, or leave it just as it is, whatever is best for you. So now we need to corner round these 3 points. So pop it in your corner rounder. My husband's just put the kettle on the kitchen, so there is a chance that he's going to come in and ask me if I'd like a cuppa. Perhaps you need a cuppa too. And then these 3 pieces will fit here and here and here, but guess what? They also need corner rounding, so let's get that done. Pop it in and line it up with the little raised edge. This is the trio corner punch from Stampin' Up. I believe it's now retired. It's great. I love it, and you need to get these things while they're still available, because it's got three different types of punch on one punch, which is pretty cool. So let's just get this on here and stick these down. Let's pop that in place. I should take back, shouldn't I? I've shut my office door, which kind of means don't come in, but will my husband even bother noticing that? He hasn't come in yet, and I've heard him get the milk out the fridge. So I think I'm not getting a cuppa, but he's not disturbing me, so swings and roundabouts. Right, so there's that, and now what we need to do is stick this on here. So just to say, be careful, don't smear glue all over here, because obviously you don't want the glue coming out further than where the score line's going to be. So best to put your glue on here. So some nice firm strips of glue to hold it in place, and just line it up at the side and at the top and bottom. Give it a good press down, and that's your basic card base. Now I used some Pretty in Pink ribbon, and I've tied it around this panel where my thumbs are only, not round both panels. So it's only going around this panel here. Okay. Otherwise, if you tied the ribbon around here, it wouldn't open to stand up. So grab your ribbon and make a nice firm bow. This is really nice ribbon actually. This bordered ribbon, 3/4 of an inch wide, and it's got a little stitched edge. But it just gives, some ribbons give just like a really nice bow, and this is one of them. So let's just make our bow the size we wish. Trim off your ends. Oh, I didn't trim that very well, did I? I think I've got a bit of glue on my scissors. But what I will say is, the great thing is you can move this to be where you want it to be, and then actually what I'm going to do is it's going to be secured in place by one of the reindeer for my cards, as you can see here. So that reindeer is sticking that ribbon down. So what we need to do is stamp the greeting. So I want to say is in the air. Here it is. So we're going to stamp the is in the air along here. So I will just do my best to get that straight. It's really hard when there's a mobile phone in the way of your head, so you can't lean over, but we got there. So that's there now. Now what I've used is the reindeer bundle from Stampin' Up, and you can use the dies from the set to die cut the shape. So the die in the set cuts around which one is it? Cuts around this reindeer just here. Or you can fussy cut. Now I chose one of the reindeers that you can die cut, but I also chose a reindeer that you need to fussy cut. So rather than you watching me do that, I have already done that and I've stuck dimensionals on the back. So our reindeers are all ready to go. What I have to do is do the Christmas is in the air. So this is from the Peaceful Season die set, and you have a background which I'm cutting in white, and then you have the foreground in the Christmas which I'm cutting in pretty in pink to match the ribbon. Now what I've already done is I've cut a piece of adhesive sheet to be the same size as the pretty in pink, and I'm just going to stick that on. And what that means is if I make sure that this is on the underside of my die cut piece, it will add adhesive sheet to the back of Christmas, and it just means it makes it a little bit easier sticking it down because it's quite an intricate little die. So that's what I'm going to do. So let's run that through my die cut machine. Let's get that ready. Let's do it so you can see. So I should be able to do both in one swipe through. So there's the white with the background of the Christmas, and the pretty in pink with the Christmas word. Be careful because you get a little dot of your eye in this die, and you want to keep it so that you can add it to your die cut finished word to finish it off. So run that through and then pop them down on the table. So let's just pop out the Christmas, that's super easy. And then let's pop out the word Christmas, also super easy. But the only thing I want to draw your attention to is the little dot of the eye. So let's do that and pop that somewhere safe. It's here. It's also got adhesive backing on it, so I should be able to peel that off. It'll be super fiddly, but it is possible. So let's have a little look at that now. If I just get the little pointy end of my take your pick tool and lift it off, I should be able to stick that in place. Now from experience, because I've made 2 or 3 of these cards, I know that the eye dot goes in that orientation like that. So my eye's in place already, and then I need to do the same on the back of the Christmas. I need to start lifting the edge of the backing paper. I've managed to do that with my nail. So at this point I wouldn't recommend you pull the backing off, because what that does, it sort of just pulls the lettering apart and distorts the letters, which makes it harder for gluing. So I'm just going to pull the C back, and I'm going to stick that in place. And what you want to do is just follow, so you've got a nice white outline under each letter, and then just pull each letter as you are ready to do it, and you'll find it doesn't pull all the letters apart, because obviously we've anchored down those other 2 letters. Let's get that in place. Anchor that down, then we're pulling off the next one. We can anchor that down, pull off the next one, and so on until we've stuck the whole word down. And it just means it's nicely stuck. You haven't got any wet glue coming out of the edges. My M's gone a little bit stretched, so I need to just get that back in line a second. Takes a minute or 2, but I think it's better than, like I say, trying to get unwanted glue off the top of your die cut, and you'll get a nice crisp finish at the end. There we go. Stick that in place, even that tiny little stalk on the Christmas. Perfect. So there's our word. Now I do need to stick some dimensionals on the back of that to stick it down. I don't know about you, but I prefer the large dimensionals. I use the small ones too, obviously, but I prefer the large ones. But once I've got my dimensionals in place, just making sure I haven't got any sticking out the edges, I do tend to cut the little edge pieces for thin die cut. So I've just cut a little piece off here, which will be good for my edge of my C, because one of the hexagons doesn't fit in that shape. So let's stick that in there like that. I'm going to try and bend it around and then just peel off the backing. In fact, you know what? I'm not going to peel off the backing on the C just yet, and you'll see why in a minute. Because I actually want to secure the reindeer's legs under part of the word. So before I know which part, I'm going to just stick this in place. So let's have a look. I think we need to go over here like this and stick it on straight. And remember, I haven't peeled the backing off the C yet. And I've got my 2 reindeer here. This is the first reindeer, so peel off the backings of my dimensionals. You can do that however you wish. The pointy end of the Take Your Pick tool works a treat. But if you've got really short nails like me, that also works. Right. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to make sure I'm clear of the ribbon. I don't want to cover my reindeer up with the ribbon. And I want to have my reindeer with his legs probably just under the H. So if I stick that down in place like that, if I don't like where my ribbon is, I can move that around and get that sitting where I want it to sit. I'll do that in a moment. But before I stick the rest of my C down, I'm just going to stick the legs down of the reindeer and then remove the backing and then stick that in place so that he's secured like that. I'm going to have to retrim the end of my bow there, but that's not a problem. And remember, you can move it up and down before you've stuck it in place if you want to, so that it's where you want it to be. And now we're going to stick the other reindeer, which is slightly different to the reindeer that I chose on my other card. It's in a slightly different body shape. It's doing a different jump. So let's see how that works on my card. So I want to be able to fit around the words. I quite like that they overlap one another because it sort of looks like they're jumping around for joy. So if I was to stick that like that, I think that looks okay. But I have got a dimensional protruding out here, which I'd already stuck down. So I need to remove that. Easily done. And tuck it behind. Is that going to be easily done? You don't want to have it sticking out because it's going to stick your card front down to your actual card base. And we're almost there. We can stick some rhinestones. I've got these nice red rhinestones, which I think pick up the red in the flower and also on the little wreath there. So I'm trying to echo the colours. And if you wish, on this card, I cut out a bit of holly from the Reindeer Days designer series paper, or you can leave it without holly. So I'm going to leave that one without holly. And that's it. So when you when the cards are sat like this, the little fold means it wants to bend down. But once you stand them up, you'll find that it just means that the front is, I think the word, gosh, is it perpendicular? Parallel to the back piece, and it just sits and stands really nicely. So one thing I will mention is if you want to stamp on the inside, and I did do that with this card, is make sure that you stamp it somewhere where it won't be seen when the card is displayed. So I made sure I tucked my greeting in slightly because once it stands, this bit goes back to the left slightly, and this bit protrudes about another centimetre. So make sure that you're just making sure that it's hidden when you actually stamp your inside greeting. And obviously you can use anything you wish to stick on these card fronts. So I hope you've enjoyed that quick fun fold. Thanks to Patricia Leferink from the Netherlands who shared that with me. And I hope you've enjoyed making the card along with me today. Thanks for joining me. Take care. Bye bye.